North Sentinel Island is one of the most restricted islands on Earth. It's home to one of the last truly uncontacted tribes of people, and they will kill anyone who comes to their shores. Welcome back, everyone. Here today we talk about the very real place known as North Sentinel Island, and what happens if you break one of the strictest rules in the world. If you're new here, welcome. We make videos about the most mysterious and incredible places on our planet. If you love to travel, then make sure to subscribe so you never miss an amazing episode. John Allen Shaw was a missionary from Texas who wanted to share his Christian faith with one of the last uncontacted tribes in the world. He wanted to reach out to the Sentinelese people who live on North Sentinel Island in the Bay of Bengal. North Sentinel Island is part of the Andaman Islands, a group of islands located in the Bay of Bengal near the countries of India and Myanmar. The Andaman Islands were formed by volcanic activity millions of years ago and are home to a variety of plant and animal species, many of which are found nowhere else on Earth. But it's North Sentinel Island that stands out as one of the most fascinating and enigmatic places on the planet. The island is covered in dense jungle and is home to a small population of Sentinelese people, who are believed to have lived there for thousands of years. The Sentinelese are known for their hostility towards outsiders and have a reputation for being one of the most isolated and secretive tribes in the world. They have no contact with the outside world and are believed to have little knowledge of modern society. In fact, they don't even know that there's such a thing as a camera. John Allen Shaw spent months planning his trip to North Sentinel Island and prepared himself for the journey by studying the history of the island and its people and learning about the local environment. He even practiced making sounds and gestures to try to communicate with the Sentinelese. He brought gifts with him to try to win their trust, including soccer balls, combs, beads, fishing hooks, and religious texts. But despite his best efforts, the Sentinelese people were not receptive to John's presence. They saw him as an outsider and a potential threat to their way of life, and they responded to his attempts at communication with hostility and aggression. John's determination to reach the Sentinelese people led him to take increasingly risky measures. He snuck onto the island several times and left gifts for the Sentinelese people in an attempt to gain their trust. But each time he was forced to flee when the Sentinelese people became aware of his presence. On one occasion, John was almost killed when he was shot at with arrows. Determined to succeed in his mission, John continued to try to reach the Sentinelese people. He returned to the island several more times, each time taking greater risks than before. Eventually, his persistence paid off, and he was able to make contact with the Sentinelese people. However, rather than welcoming him, they attacked him. John was beaten and injured and realized that his mission was in jeopardy. Fearing for his safety, John fled the island once again. But he had underestimated the Sentinelese people's determination to protect their land. As he tried to escape, John was pursued by members of the tribe and eventually caught. The Sentinelese people dragged him deeper into the jungle, and John knew that he was in grave danger. He had never been so close to the Sentinelese people, and now he was at their mercy. What happened next is not known for sure, but it's believed that the Sentinelese people killed John and that his body was left in the jungle. News of John's disappearance quickly spread, and a search party was organized to find him. However, despite an extensive search, his body was never recovered and he was never seen again. The Sentinelese people have lived on North Sentinel Island for thousands of years, and their way of life has remained unchanged for centuries. They live in small huts made of wood and leaves and survive by hunting and gathering food. They are skilled archers and use bows and arrows to hunt animals such as deer and wild boar. They also gather fruits, vegetables, and nuts to supplement their diet. The Sentinelese people are known for their hostility towards outsiders and will attack anyone who sets foot on their island. They have no concept of private property and believe that everything on the island belongs to everyone. They are fiercely protective of their land and resources and will defend them at all costs. Over the years, there have been several attempts by outsiders to make contact with the Sentinelese people, but all of them have been met with violence. In 2006, 2 fishermen were killed and their boat destroyed after they accidentally drifted into Sentinelese territory. In 2018, a man named John Allen Shaw was killed by the Sentinelese people after he snuck onto the island in an attempt to make contact. Despite the dangers, some people continued to try to make contact with the Sentinelese people. In 2022, a man named Yoshi Panyum slipped into the island and left behind a message in a bottle. However, his attempt to contact the Sentinelese people was unsuccessful and he was forced to leave the island empty-handed. It's believed that the Sentinelese people have been living on North Sentinel Island for thousands of years. Cut off from the rest of the world, they are believed to be one of the most isolated tribes on Earth and have had little to no contact with modern civilization. Their language is unknown and their culture is shrouded in mystery. They are believed to live in small groups and move around the island, hunting and gathering food. They are skilled craftspeople and make their own tools and weapons from materials they gather on the island. They are also believed to have a deep knowledge of the island's plants and animals and use them for food, medicine, and shelter. The Sentinelese people are known for their hostility towards outsiders and will attack anyone who sets foot on their island. They are fiercely independent and have no desire to interact with the outside world. They have no concept of private property and believe that everything on the island belongs to everyone. They are also believed to be highly superstitious and may view outsiders as a threat to their way of life. It's not clear why the Sentinelese people are so hostile towards outsiders, but it's likely due to a combination of factors. They have been isolated from the rest of the world for thousands of years and have had little to no contact with modern civilization. They are also believed to be highly superstitious and may view outsiders as a threat to their way of life. Finally, they have no concept of private property and may see outsiders as a threat to their way of life. The Sentinelese people are believed to be one of the most isolated tribes on Earth, and their way of life is truly unique. They are skilled hunters and gatherers, craftspeople, and have a deep knowledge of their environment. They are also fiercely independent and protective of their land and resources. While their hostility towards outsiders is understandable given their history of isolation and persecution, it's also important to respect their right to privacy and self-determination. It's not our place to force contact or impose our way of life on theirs. They have a right to determine how and when they interact with the outside world. Ultimately, the Sentinelese people are a reminder of the importance of preserving cultural diversity and respecting the rights of indigenous peoples. Their way of life is truly unique and should be respected and protected. There are many lessons that can be learned from the story of North Sentinel Island and the Sentinelese people. One of the most important lessons is the need for cultural sensitivity and respect for other cultures. The Sentinelese people have a unique and ancient culture that has developed over thousands of years in isolation from the outside world. Their way of life is vastly different from ours, and we must respect that. We cannot force our beliefs, values, or customs on them, nor can we assume that they are inferior or barbaric. Each culture has its own strengths and wisdom, and we can learn much from the Sentinelese people as well as they can from us. Secondly, it's important to recognize the right of all people to self-determination and sovereignty. The Sentinelese people have chosen to live in isolation, and we must respect that decision. They have a right to determine how and when they interact with the outside world, and we cannot force contact on them. Additionally, it's important to recognize the value of biodiversity and the importance of preserving it. North Sentinel Island is home to a variety of plant and animal species that are found nowhere else on Earth. This biodiversity is an important part of the island's ecosystem, and we must do all we can to protect it. By encroaching on the island or trying to make contact with the Sentinelese people, we risk disrupting this delicate balance and destroying irreplaceable ecosystems. Finally, it's important to remember the fragility of human life and the need for compassion and understanding. The Sentinelese people have been the victims of violence and persecution in the past, and we must approach them with sensitivity and empathy. We cannot simply view them as primitive or uncivilized, but must recognize that they are human beings with the same rights and dignity as all others. In conclusion, the story of North Sentinel Island and the Sentinelese people teaches us important lessons about cultural sensitivity, respect for other cultures, the right to self-determination, and the importance of biodiversity and human compassion. It is a story that reminds us that we are all human beings, and that we must treat each other with respect and dignity, regardless of our differences. Let us remember these lessons and strive to create a better world for all. Do you think John was right to try to get to the island? Let us know in the comments below. And before you go, make sure to subscribe and come along with us for more videos about the most amazing places in the world. See you next time.